Hi, everybody. Welcome to our session on finding and creating character voices. So we are going to hope this works. Let's see. I'm trying to advance the slides. It's not working. Oh, Andrew, sorry. What's going on? There we go. So here's our agenda for today. We're going to talk about interpretation of voices, where you get them from, kind of preparing to be a voice actor. I see. There's just a bit of a delay. That's what it is. And then a few tips. And then at the end, there's an exercise. Because it's interactive, we're going to take that back over to the voice channel. And we have a very short window to squeeze a lot of things in. So hang on. Here we go. So these are just some ideas, concepts, and so forth that I've come up with that work for me. Just shout out to those I've learned from along the way, coaches and actors, other actors. There may be other ways to do it, and this is kind of what works for me. So I hope you enjoy the look into that. Some artwork is in here that's used with the artist's permission. Of course, it's their intellectual property, as the presentation here is mine, but please don't borrow their artwork without asking them. Their links are going to be in the presentation a bit later. Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed what we're going to do. Hang on. We have a lot of stuff to cover. So we're going to begin with interpretation and inspiration. Where does that come from? How do you know how the character sounds? So that could be a number of things. It could be that as a voice actor, you get a script that says it's this age range, this background, whatever, something that the designer, the video game designer, or the director may have come up with. You may also get a voice reference, a link that says, we want it to sound something like this. You could get direction. That could be the flavor of the voice or how much energy they want to have in the voice. That can be a little confusing sometimes because you get contradictory things like, well, we want salesy but laid back, or we want a chill dude with high energy or something, and they don't realize that those are contradictory. So you can literally get anything from that. It's a little hard to tell. A voice reference and link is a good thing because you can listen to it yourself and hear what you need to hear to duplicate or to try to replicate. Another thing that can be very helpful is the work. So if you're a game developer and you're looking to communicate to the voice actor, a voice reference, if you have one, would be great, and good artwork is also a nice thing too. The artwork itself has a lot of information in it. So there are physical characteristics of the character, maybe their posture, what they're wearing, and so on and so forth. As you can see here, what they might have in their hands, or what they might be wearing, or what they might, the environment they might be in. Here are a few examples of how you might take the artwork and come up with a voice. So let's just grab the first guy here. So what does he say to you? To me, he looks French. So perhaps his French accent. If you talk to my kitchen, you will ruin my bouillabaisse. Maybe that. Maybe he's Italian. Hey, this is Luigi's kitchen. Hey, go away from here. Don't bother the chef while he's working. So it could be something like that. It's up to you, based on what the picture says, what the voice sounds like. Unless it comes with something. Maybe the description says he is a Cajun chef. He doesn't necessarily look Cajun, but maybe that's what they intended and the best picture they could come up with. So you give him a little bit of Cajun voice there, yeah, woo-wee, that'll make you slap your mama. Trip etouffee, woo-wee. So maybe that's what you do based on the picture combined with the description. Here's a guy. At him, he is probably not well off. He doesn't have a lot of money. His clothes don't fit. Maybe he's, Oi, governor, how about a couple of quid till payday? Oh, the fine swells such as you could have a few extra coin in your pocket, eh? Maybe he's a little lower class voice. Maybe he's a bit more like that. Here's another one. Ladies, obviously dressed very well. Maybe she's going to some event. Maybe she is at church. Her voice is going to be made more like this. Oh, yes, dearie, we're going to have a nice church social after the service. And you can try out my lemon meringue pie, something like that. Let's see what else we have. There's one. It's just very young, or perhaps he's not human. Maybe he's an elf or something. But he's very excited. Look at the expression on his face. He's just, oh boy, I've got a new sword and it's green. Wow. So maybe he's that. Picture can give you a lot of information. And that's what we're looking at today is the picture. Here's a picture. It doesn't tell you a lot. You get gender, rough age maybe, but not much. So there could be a lot of directions you could go with this. But if you just had a little thing added to it, like that, now it's totally different. Here's a guy with a glass of wine. Maybe he's, how you doing? Yeah. Maybe he's a charmer. Maybe he's a smooth kind of a guy. A lot of different options. I'm trying to push through this because we're short on time. Now it's slightly different. No wine, but he's got an envelope. It could be, hey, boss, the mail's here. Mail's for you. Could be that. It's very different than how you doing. Here's another one. This one, he's got what could be blueprints. Maybe he's a more refined voice. He's more executive. Maybe he's more business-like. No building will be built without the right approvals, without the right licensure. Maybe he's a little more like that. So the same base character can change significantly just with a little object interaction. So another thing to think about is what is the character's mouth like? So do they have an underbite, overbite? All the things you see on the screen, what's their tongue doing? Do they have fangs? Perhaps they have a bite. Is their mouth asymmetrical? Famously, Sean Connery is that way. He talks from the side of his mouth like that. Drew Barrymore, also asymmetrical often. Maybe their teeth are clenched. Well, was it 5 or was it 6? I kind of lost count myself. So it could be something small like that defines the voice for you. Here's an example of that. If you're familiar with Gravity Falls, with the character Mabel, and the voice actor there, Kristen Shaw, said that reminded her of that experience. So for her, the voice has a little bit of a wet sound to it, like a little bit like that. So because of the braces and how she recalled that, it would help her build the voice. Something small like that can really make a difference. What else can you tell from the picture? Personality? Are they a happy person, sad person? Generally angry? Anything like that. Then you can take the personality aspects and incorporate them into the character. Whether that's just overall attitude, or maybe they're physically heavy. So the breathing is a little more labored. So they'll say something and then add more breath to it because they're just maybe not in good shape. Maybe they have some sort of a speech pattern. Famously, the Canadian accent always has the A at the end. Oh yeah, eh? We're going down to Timbits. Timmy's and get some Timbits, eh? Okay. So there's a tendency to add that A on everything when you're doing a Canadian voice, but they don't always say that. But they do say it. Here's some personality examples. Let's do that. So here's a guy. What does he sound like? He's got a crown. He's a king, maybe. He doesn't look too happy. Perhaps he's an older king who misses having a very large kingdom. Now all I have is 3 subjects and this very tiny sword. It's a very sad thing. Maybe that's him. Could be any number of things. That's one option. Here's a guy. Just screams attitude, right? Hey, yo, Johnny T, telling you to get out of the way, okay? Hey, bada boom, I'm gonna kick your... he's got a lot of attitude. Just look at his face. His eyes are huge. They're even red. Very, very aggressive. Here's a guy. Pure joy. I don't know what he's doing. His hair's on fire. He's got fireballs he's throwing around. Just, wow! Fireballs are the best! Awesome! So maybe he's just so thrilled with that. These are all suppositions, by the way. They could be anything. Here's one. Wide open eyes, small child. Boy, wow, those are fresh cookies. Can I have one? Maybe he's just awe of whatever he's looking at. He's a child, so you factor that in too. So, like I said, those are just possibilities. It could be any number of things. Looking for information in the artwork to help you determine the voice. How are we doing on time? Okay. So what if the character is not human? That might affect how they sound, how they breathe. I was cast for a role a while back that was a sort of a lizard-like character. And he had kind of a voice like this. Yes. And it was kind of a little extra sibilance on the S's, like the lizard tongue might have, like that. But they loved the voice, and they cast me for the role. It was kind of cool. So look at the picture if it's non-human, and you might be able to supplement what you were already doing by something non-human. So here's a couple of examples. Maybe it's a dragon. Look at the size of his nose. Okay, so maybe there's a lot of breathing in his voice, and maybe it's a little growly because dragons, I love counting all of my gold pieces. Maybe something like that. It's up to you, unless there's direction. If there's direction, of course, follow what that is. And as a game developer, the more direction you can give, the more likely the voices that come back to you in your casting will be what you need. Here's another one. This is he's a monkey. Doesn't look happy, but he's got a pipe. So maybe he's holding onto the pipe like that, and he's driving, and maybe it's a bit steampunky. So a little more Victorian voice, perhaps. I hate driving down here. I never get a chance to be in the cockpit. I'm always driving and always fixing. Maybe he's unhappy about something, but he's a little classy. He's got his bow tie there, and he's got a top hat on. Perhaps he's more British with this unhappiness. Yeah? So you could pick it based on those little things like that. Here's one. This is a fish, of course. It's very lethargic, very slow, and large lips. So, bloop, bloop, just want to swim around the tank. Bloop, bloop, bloop. So he's not very high energy. He's kind of low key. That's how he reads to me. He might read to you differently. Okay. Oh. Those are some inspiration things, and let's look at preparation. So this is a key in voice acting, is being prepared. How do you come up with a character's voice? I'll answer it with a question. How does a guitar player create a solo? It's because they put a lot of time in ahead of time, practicing and training, just like you've done for being able to build your own games, that took you a lot of time and practice to be able to get to that point. Same thing with any expert in their field. You're training, you're studying, researching, practicing, trying. And all of these guitar players started somewhere. They picked up their first guitar at some point and began their journey. Voice actors, same thing. Training, studying, research, all the things you do to perfect your voices. So strategies, one is library and one is the toolkit. So you can build a library of characters ahead of time. Just have a bunch of voices in your pocket you can pull out as needed. So you have just like a toolbox, if you will, of tools. Oh, I need a Phillips head screwdriver. Boom, there we go. That's my British voice. I will put it on as needed, or maybe it's a wrench. And for a wrench, you need to go down under. Maybe it's that. So you pull the voices out as you need them. If you're not comfortable just jumping in with a whole bunch of them, just start with one. That's okay. As you progress and as you get better, you can add more voices. And also, I recommend going back to practice them. I was doing an Irish voice for a long time and got away from it, picking up other voices, and when I went back to it, it wasn't as clear as it used to be. So I had to spend a little extra time polishing that up. So how do you do that? So how do you create a voice? So here's one I took as an example. So I have several old man voices, but this is one of them. It's a little older, and it would have worked too if it wasn't for you meddling kids. That sort of a voice. Where does it come from? Well, maybe you take your regular voice and just slow it down. So you maybe talk just a little slower pace, and then change your pitch. Maybe it's a little higher pitched than you would normally speak, and maybe there's a little gravel in there. Vocal fry is the term for that, but just a little vocal fry gravel. And then for me, it's a little rounded feeling, so it's a little more rounded like that. Then you build your voices and put them in your pocket like that. So there's your old man, and you can add accents to that if you like. Old man, boy, but he's Irish and he's old, for example. It's just another layer you can add on. And you find voices in your everyday life. Just listen. Random people that you encounter, they may say something, may do something that sticks for you and can create a voice. It could be that seed that the voice grows from. Maybe it's celebrities, people you see online. And then look for, also different countries too, different accents can be good for that too. And just borrow what works for you. Make it your own, but maybe take something out of there that's a germ or the seed for that. And the key to this is listening, being able to listen and then duplicate or simulate what you hear. A great example of that is one of the voice actors from The Simpsons, Hank Azaria, famously has said a lot of the voices he does come from something else. So if you remember a movie called Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Sean Penn played Jeff Spicoli, who was a surfer dude. Wow, Mr. Hand. Well, so he had a voice kind of like that. So Hank Azaria used that as a base for this character, Sneak, I think his name is. And you can see the others that are on the screen there. Sylvester Stallone, Al Pacino, sort of inspired voices for him, for those characters. So you can do the same. The next thing is to be flexible in the moment. So the more prepared you are, the more versatility you have with your roster of voices, you can shift from one to the other as needed, or respond to direction from the game developer or the casting director or the producer, whoever's on the other side of the glass. So those are toolkits, your voice toolkit and your acting toolkit. So your toolkit can be different age ranges of voices. It could be different speech patterns, gender, of course, accents. That's a huge one, and voice placement. What does that mean? So maybe the voice is way up in your head here, or maybe it's down in your chest more. It's a deeper voice. It's a little more resonant. Or it could be, the French accent is the front of the mouth. But another one that may be more in the back is, for me anyway, is an Indian voice. Oh yes, it's a little bit more in the back of the voice. It's a little more choked up and a little more constrained, in the back of the voice. So it depends on where it works for you, but that's where it sits for me. Placement. Your acting toolkit is going to be the same as an on-screen actor or on-stage actor would use. Your emotions, your imagination, improbability, and that sort of thing. It's all very important. If you have a great voice but you have a wooden delivery, you'll never get cast in that. Get coaching, absolutely. Learn from your peers, learn from experts. Find coaches who resonate with you, vice versa, somebody that you click with. And find coaches with expertise in the areas that you're looking to improve. So I saw a guy posting the other day about, I want to find an accent coach or dialect coach. Okay, well that's great, but there are a bunch of them. And which accent or dialect are you trying to learn? Because one coach may have skills in an accent that you want to learn, and others may not. So if you want to learn an Australian accent, okay, that's cool, but get a coach who can do that. If your coach can't do the accent, they're going to have a hard time directing you on that if they don't have the skills themselves. Just like if I wanted to play trumpet, I wouldn't go get a guitar teacher. Same thing. Here are a few tips and ideas. I'll keep us under time here and leave room for questions. So for voice acting, a few tips are, don't be afraid to move around. Let your body take on the character, but just make sure you stay on the mic. Because if your mic is here and you're moving your head and your voice all around, that's going to play havoc with the engineer. So just make sure you stay on the mic. Watch out for odd noises, jewelry, bumping into things. And then last, don't worry about it. Nobody's going to see you in the booth. Be whatever you need to do to get the voice out that you need. Wise, character-wise, go big. You can always come back. If you go halfway, the director may not know that you have more to give. So go big, and then you can pull it back some if you need to. If you're doing a voice that has a lot of shouting and screaming or overexertion, try to save that for the last. For example, I was in the recent Jurassic Park video game, and one of my characters I was playing had to die eaten by a dinosaur. So I just asked, hey, can we hold that till the end? They were totally cool with it, and I gave them lots of great death sounds in that section. But I didn't want to wreck my voice to start with, doing that in the beginning, and then that would impact the other characters. And if you don't get the role, move on. I know it's not always easy to do that, but try it as best you can. So for developers, for your characters, my suggestions would be have a strong idea of what you want and communicate that well. If you're of the mindset of, or the description of, laid back but high energy, that's not going to work too well. So be clear with what you want, and even you can collaborate with the voice actor. So work together with them. Maybe even word choice can help there. They can help with that too. If you want to feature a Scottish accent, they have very famously a tapped R. So it's not a rolled R like Spanish, and it's not an American R like that we normally say with American accent. So they may help you choose wording that would feature that if you want to highlight that aspect of the character, the voice. Make sure you plan for it in your schedule. Casting takes time, and editing takes time as well. You may even need to re-record some things. Maybe the script changed along the way, or something changed in your development of the game that now means the character needs to say something different or needs to say something additional. With your scripts, be very clear with your direction and dialogue. Have someone proofread it if possible before sending it out. And even try this. Try reading the lines yourself. If you've put or your writer put a line in that's, a whole paragraph long, it's going to be hard for somebody to maintain that without having to take a breath. These long solos with guitar, that's fine. But with a trumpet player or a sax player, you got to take a breath somewhere. Voice actors also. And then, last but not least, don't go cheap, because you get what you pay for. You can have the fastest car in the world, but if it looks like a clunker, you're not going to get much resale value out of it. So don't go cheap on voice acting. You get what you pay for, like anything else. Here's a credit for our artists: Lucas Ryan, Andrew Duncan, Tennille Chandler, Isabella Perley. Thank you all for agreeing to let me use your artwork. I appreciate that. We have an exercise now for voice creation. And we're going to take this over into the voice channel. What this is basically just pick a character, doesn't matter which one, here's one, and then come up with a voice for that based on what you see. Yar, matey, there she blows. I bet that ship's got full of treasure, something like that. Could be anything you like. Andrew, I'll throw it back over to you. Maybe there are some questions that came up. We have just a couple minutes left.
There was a lot of praise in the chat, especially for the range that you were demonstrating there. Number of different folks gave that feedback. Mike Garcia, good talk. Thanks. Oh, Britt the Illustrator had an interesting comment about how when he's drawing, he's often thinking about the voice as he's doing it. Have you ever collaborated with the artist as they were creating a character?
Yes, not very often. Usually you get the artwork's finalized before it comes to you as the voice actor. But I've participated in a couple of competitions that were animation, voiceover, combined competitions. So in those, I was working directly with animators to create characters and create voices to match the story that we were building. It's one of those, from soup to nuts, create a whole movie, a little tiny one, in 4 hours type of a competition. And that's really fun to be able to do that, because you can take feedback in both directions, from the artist to the voice actor and voice actor to artist.
That's great. All right, well, I'm going to move you into the voice channel, the general voice channel. I'll give you the ability to share your screen so people can look at these characters. Just so you know, the character that people most seemed to want to do a voice for while they were in chat was the spoon that the chef was holding up. So right now, the winning idea seems to be that it's a garbage spoon, doesn't want to be in fine cuisine. It's basically Oscar the Grouch the spoon.
That's hilarious. Okay.
Well, thank you very much, Ian. Cool. Everybody, you are welcome to go into the voice chat. I will move Ian there in a minute. And, thank you very much, Ian.
Absolutely. Thank you. Hope you guys got something out of it. And we'll see you down the road.